for yourselves, because we got a whole bunch of stuff done, and I'm sure you want to tell them. And as Sarah alluded to, what you experienced, if you're not aware of it, is a user-centered design process, a facilitated discussion, and we've got tons of resources. This is not a plug for our company, but I'm realizing that these things could be helpful to you. So if you were interested, you could look at nngroup.com, which is nielsennormgroup.com, and we have free resources that give you some of the tools and information on how to run a workshop like this with your own people. So, but I do want to shout out to Sarah Gibbons, who makes these things look really easy, but they're not, especially when it's supposed to be an unconference. So to put something together and get people to focus is a really special skill. So thank you, Paul Loringer and Tanner Kohler, for being an amazing MC, and Sarah for actually It's really been our honor to be been part of this. So thanks for letting us, Nielsen Norman Group, be involved in this whole journey that you have been going on, that have been so enlightening and impressive to us. So in the other room, it was interesting to me, not having been working with all the stakeholders and the board all this time, to see the challenges that they're facing. Like some of them, you know, the caring and the desire to help the current, you guys, the current humanity-centered designers. And how do we keep that going? You folks who already won the award, how do we make sure that there's mentorship, that there are resources for you? That is also butting up against the next design award. So it takes a lot to pull this thing together, and there's in another year, there's gonna be a new set of winners. And then the other part is really creating a system, a framework, a set of tools that can enable the entire world to do this kind of work. And so that was a lot of the discussion, is what is the training, what are the playbooks, what are the tools, what are the resources that can come about. And honestly, many of the things that came up are some of the things you guys are talking about. So it's very, very cool to see those overlaps and those synergies. And I think the next big step is really in a couple of weeks after we've percolated on some of these things, and we'll bring your ideas to the team as well to really think about really prioritizing those. What is the priority? Because we can't boil the ocean. So what are we going to prioritize and work on next? And maybe you'll be called in to help if you would like to. It would be amazing. So I think that's any. Carl or Dawn, you want to add anything else? Dawn's not listening. I'm just kidding.
No, Dawn listens.
I'm kidding. Of course Dawn listens.
In fact, I'm sitting here next to the loudspeaker, but I hear this when I'm close to it. But that means it doesn't look like I'm listening. I found your list very interesting. I took a picture of it. And many of the items are exactly the items we have talked about. Although our talk, we were also trying to be a bit more practical, constrained by our resources. So some of the things that you suggest on that list are truly excellent, but require more resources than we have available now. What we did say was one thing that would be useful is a playbook, if you will. I'm looking for where'd my lap? There we go. So, for example, this is called the Humanity-Centered Design Innovation Playbook. And so it basically is a basic introduction to what humanity-centered design is and how you should go about it. This comes from Singapore Polytech. And as there is not a final edition, they expect to have the final edition in time for next year's conference. This is at least the second iteration that I have seen. But the Aga Khan Foundation also pointed out that they too have a set of playbooks about humanity-centered design and how it might be done. And so what we thought about is it would be really powerful if we could put together a set of playbooks, because you need different ones for different kinds of communities and different kinds of audience. You need one for education, you may need one for corporate design, you may need one for nonprofits, you may need one for societal design, which is a subset of the non-corporate, being nonprofits. And so that was a good suggestion. We had actually, one of the issues was we had so many good suggestions, but we didn't actually reach, at the end, a specific set of doables that we will do. Well, let me explain what we did decide. We thought that we needed time to think, that it's too soon to come up with actions today, but we don't want to wait a year. So we've given ourselves 2 weeks. And we're going to send out an email summarizing what we thought we might do to everybody, and try to meet in 2 weeks and reach some closure. And one of the things is that, well, the groups that we had together, and I may miss some of the organizations, but we had Habits for a Better World, we had the Aga Khan Foundation, we had Commit Global, we had Central Trinity, no we didn't, they weren't there. We had Design for Good, we had the Industrial Design Society of America, we had FHI 360, and Power Analytics. Those are the companies there, and the DNDA has also been talking to, in addition to those, a group that's called What Design Can Do, which is based in Amsterdam, but I interacted for a day or 2 days with a group that's headquartered in Mexico City, which is a branch of What Design Can Do, and it was very powerful. So forming these alliances might be a beginning, and we decided though that Design for Good, well, the way it works is they take one of the United Nations SDGs and they work on it for 2 years, and then they go on to another one, and they are just starting a 2-year on the SDG number 4, which is education. And we said, oh, education. Well, that's interesting because Singapore Polytech is an educational institution. They'd be happy to work in education. And we actually have the Nielsen Norman Group there, which is really, although it's a for-profit, it's one that's more and more being owned by the employees. And that process will finish in a number of years and be completely owned by the employees. And I myself am an educator. And what was the other group that jumped on?
Design Village.
Oh, the Design Village is with us. Obviously, they're an educational institution. There was one other I thought that said, basically, I think there was pretty universal agreement that education might be a really good thing to focus our attention, not to get us started. Because almost the awards program is an educational program. Even the projects, because people are learning how to do these projects. So using education broadly defined seemed like a really good focus, because a problem we have when we're starting something is making sure we focus on something that's narrow enough but rich enough, narrow enough that we can actually get it done with not much resources, rich enough that we can attract other people to say that's very powerful. And I think what was powerful about using education is it's broadly enough defined, it covers a lot of territory. Does anybody want to add? Because I'm sure I've missed critical things. Well, Carl says I've got it. I trust Carl. Okay, thank you.